Nice to have you join us on today's edition of the program TVN Business Time. My name is Nten Ekpan. We're going to take you deep down the world of business. We'll bring you business stories from Nigeria, business stories from the international scene. We'll also look at the stock market report at the close of business yesterday at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. We'll also bring you what is happening in the international market, specifically the US market and of course the Asian market. We'll also look at how the Naira is doing as it concerns its relationship with other currencies. That's talking about the exchange rate. So without much ado, we'll go straight to the headlines for today. CBN sells $210 million as Naira closes at 363 Naira to $1. Globe partners Huawei on multi-billion Naira submarine cable. Oil hits $75 as Iran sanction fears mount. And the UK government borrowing lowest for 11 years. We now go to the details of the stories, beginning with the first story. CBN sells $210 million as Naira closes at exactly $363 per dollar. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria has stepped into the interbank sector of the foreign exchange market yet again, intervening in the wholesale segment and other sectors of the market to the tune of $210 million. This came just as the Naira closed at 363 Naira per United States dollar at the parallel market on Tuesday, the same rate it closed on Monday. The Naira has been 363 per dollar for some days now, and figures released by the Tuesday revealed high level of stability in the forex market and continually ease access to the currency by those requiring it for genuine activities. Okorabo, while commending the role of every player in the market, said the CBN was ready to inject funds into the market whenever and wherever necessary in order to maintain market stability as well as sustain the financial system. He also said the financial regulator was further buoyed by recent gains in the foreign exchange sector, which had seen the country's reserves soar closer to the $50 billion mark. Speaking further, Okorafo said the country's reserves continue to enjoy accretion, adding that the present reserve status at the bank meant that the CBN was capable of sustaining foreign exchange liquidity in the system. The CBN, in its last interventions on Friday, injected a sum of $396.18 million into the retail secondary market intervention sales. And of course, moving to the next story now, FIRS generates 1.1 trillion Naira in 3 months. And that story has it that the Federal Inland Revenue Service generated a total of 1.17 trillion Naira in the first quarter of this year from the collection of various taxes, according to a document in the possession of the press. This was a significant rise over the 778.19 billion Naira recorded in the corresponding period of 2017. According to a letter written by the executive chairman of the FIRS, Tunde Fowler, the Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, the amount released in the first quarter of 2018 is 393.39 billion Naira more than what was generated in the first quarter of 2017. In the letter entitled Brief on Revenue Projections Performance for the period January to March 2018, Fowler said the analysis shows that we have so far collected a sum of 1,171,588,583,152 Naira 96 kobo for January to March 2018, which is 69.5% of the total target to date. This further indicates that there is an increase of 393,395,141,988 Naira 50 kobo, representing an overall increase of 51% in 2018 when compared with the collection performance for the corresponding period in 2017. Of course, it was gathered that though the amnesty declared for taxpayers to regularize their tax status by paying all outstanding taxes and free from prosecution and payment of interest under the Voluntary Income and Asset Declaration Scheme might have led to more taxpayers coming forward to pay, the scheme was not recorded to have contributed anything to the declared amount. And the breakdown of the revenue collection shows that petroleum profit tax collection rose by 91% from 338 billion in the first quarter of 2017 to 644.76 billion in the first 3 months of the year. While companies' income tax grew by 30% from 155 billion to 202 billion in the period under review. A total of 269 billion was collected as value-added tax in the first quarter of this year compared to 221 billion in the corresponding period of last year, indicating a 22% difference. Stamp duty collection rose by 1.43 billion from from 3.08 billion to 4.45 billion, while capital gains tax recorded a 179% rise from 110 billion in the first quarter of 2017 to 309 billion in the first quarter of 2018. However, the education tax collection fell by 8.06 billion in the first 3 months of 2018 to 25.87 billion from 33.93 billion in the first quarter of 2017. And of course, moving on now, Transcorp gross profit by 262 in first quarter. Well, Transnational Corporation of Nigeria, Transcorp, has reported a growth in profit of 262% for the first quarter of 2018 compared to the same quarter in 2017. The group reported 26.3 billion in revenue, which translates to 67% revenue growth for the period when compared to the same quarter last year, while its profit before tax stood at 5.9 billion, which is a significant leap from 1.7 billion reported in first quarter of 2017. The conglomerate's first quarter 2018 operating profit of 8.5 billion significantly exceeded the 4.2 billion reported in first quarter of 2017. Transcorp closed out the quarter with the tax expenses of 524 million naira profit before tax of 5.9 billion compared to 1.7 billion in first quarter 2017, and profit after tax of 5.4 billion compared to 1.5 billion in 2017 first quarter. The company's total assets also received a boost. They recorded 295.7 billion, which is a 3.6% increase from the 285.5 billion in 2017 full year. The shareholders' fund stood at 101.8 billion, which is a 6% increase from the 95.7 billion in 2017 full year. And commenting on the result, President and Chief Executive Officer of the company, Adim Jibono, said the profit reported in the period ended 31st March 2018 was largely as a result of increase in power generation from our power business, coupled with improved gas supply to our turbines. We also sustained our maintenance program and planned for the plan. Also, our hospitality business remains resilient, posting stronger year-on-year performance. Especially, we continue to maintain market leadership with occupancy levels that are way ahead of competition. And moving ahead now, Global partners Huawei on multi-billion naira submarine cable. And the report has it that telecoms firm Globacom has said it plans to boost information and communications technology in Nigeria with its planned construction of a multi-billion naira optic fiber submarine cable, which will run across all platforms and communities in the country. The initiative, named GLO2, was unveiled at the contract signing ceremony between the national operator Globacom and global telecom solutions vendors Huawei in Lagos just yesterday, Tuesday. Regional Director Technical Globacom Mr. Sanjeev Roy said the submarine cable will wind round the Nigerian coast from the Alpha Beach in Lagos, where the GLO1 landing station is located, to the southern part of the country, as well as availing ultra-high capacity connection to the south-south region, where capacity will be provided to offshore oil platforms and the communities. He stated that the GLO2 project is expected to boost telecom service in the country and add to the economic and social empowerment of communities in the oil-producing regions. It will equally provide high-speed internet connectivity as well as digitize all platforms with the view to improving production by uploading data to remote oil platforms at the speed of light. GLO2 will be the first submarine cable in Nigeria to land outside Lagos, as the 5 existing submarine cables only landed in Lagos. GLO2 will have the capacity of 12 terabytes per second and will provide ultra-high-speed connection to all platforms and communities to empower data coverage and support enterprise market growth in this part of Nigeria. He added that GLO was the first to provide dedicated submarine optical fiber to all platforms to support the growth of the Nigerian economy while assisting all communities to cut down on their operational expenditure, and that it was also designed to further expand southwards to Cameroon, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, and Angola, among others. And those are the stories on the local business scene today on TVN Business Time. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to bring you stories from the international business community. This is TVN Business Time with me and Ten Epang. Don't go away.
It's a manifestation of what you see, what you
Army have given their all to ensure that our dear country is not overrun by Boko Haram insurgents. Some have in the process paid the ultimate price, while many will forever live with one. Welcome back to you watching TV and Business Time, coming to you live on Television Nigerian, broadcasting from Abuja, Nigeria. And of course, just before that break, we brought you stories from the local business scene. Let's take a look at what is happening out at the shores of Nigeria and Africa. And of course, top on that, oil hits $75 per barrel as Iran sanction fears mount. And that report has it that oil prices hit $75 on Tuesday, the highest level in nearly 3.5 years, as fears mounted over the prospect of new U.S. sanctions on Iran. Brent crude jumped for the sixth day, trading as high as 75.47 before later falling back under the $75 mark. The U.S. will decide by 12 May whether to abandon a nuclear deal with Iran and reimpose sanctions. Such a move on the third biggest oil producer in the OPEC cartel threatens to further tighten global supplies. Oil prices have been rising since the 14th nation in OPEC, as well as other producers, including Russia, decided to restrict output last year. In November, they agreed to extend those cuts until the end of 2018. Thomas Vagar of oil broker TVN said the prospect of President Trump pulling the U.S. out of the nuclear deal and accord that Iran signed with world powers in 2015 was the most significant element of Brent's recent rally. All bets are off on the U.S. staying in the nuclear agreement, he said. The U.S. president has said that unless European allies fix what he called terrible flaws in the accord by 12 May, he will restore U.S. economic sanctions on Iran. The other nations that signed the deal are the UK, France, Germany, Russia, and China, all want to keep in place the agreement, which has halted Iran's nuclear program in return for most international sanctions being lifted. And on to the next story now. UK government borrowing lowest for 11 years, and that story has that government borrowing has fallen to its lowest annual levels in 11 years, according to the listed official figures. Borrowing fell by 3.5 billion pounds to 42.6 billion in the 2017-2018 financial year, Office for National Statistics said. This was below the estimate of 45.2 billion pounds produced by the Independent Office for Budget Responsibility last month. Borrowing narrowed to 2.1 of gross domestic product last year, down from 101 in 2010. However, total public debt as a percentage of GDP edged up to 86.3, up from 85.3 the year before. In cash, it stands at 1.798 trillion pounds. The figures are the first provisional estimates of the last financial year. The ONS stressed the need to be revised as more data becomes available. March's deficit was 1.3 billion pounds, well below a forecast for a gap of 3.25 billion pounds. The borrowing figures does not include the amount spent on supporting the state-owned banks. Mr. Hammond has kept the broad aim of the previous Chancellor, George Osborne, of reducing the gap between spending and borrowing, although he has eased off on the pace of cutbacks. And moving on now, on the next story, women could boost Asian economies by $4.5 trillion. A report published Tuesday by Kingsley Global Institute estimates that economies in the Asia-Pacific region could boost their collective GDP by $4.5 trillion by 2025 if they improve gender equality. Mark Kingsley says Asia-Pacific is arguably the most dynamic region in the world, but women in many countries there face vastly unequal treatment at work and in society compared with men. Some of the biggest gender gaps are in Bangladesh and India, where concerns have been raised previously about the economic damage from the lack of women in the workforce. Even well-developed economies such as Japan and South Korea were both judged to have extremely high levels of gender inequality in job opportunities, according to the report. Mark Kingsley said that China, the region's biggest economy, has made strides by getting more women into its workforce, but still suffers from not having enough in leadership positions. The report also praised countries including the Philippines, New Zealand, and Singapore for achieving greater gender equality at work. But more needs to be done. The study said that the biggest boost to economic growth will come from countries increasing the number of women in the workforce. The rest will come from boosting the number of hours women currently work and giving them more productive roles. On the next story now, Gucci sales surge following major revamp. Surging demands for Gucci clothes and handbags boosted sales at parent company Kering in the first 3 months of the year. It follows a major revamp at Gucci, Kering's biggest brand, under creative director Alessandro Michele. Kering, which owns other markets like Yves Saint Laurent, YSL, also benefited from a recovery in spending by wealthy Chinese shoppers. Sales at the French group jumped 27 to 3.1 billion in the quarter. Gucci's revenue rocketed 37, while YSL was up 12%. Alessandro Michele replaced Frida Giannini as creative director at Gucci in 2015 after several years of falling sales at the Italian label. He introduced more quirky, gender-neutral designs aimed at younger consumers and revamped Gucci stores. The 97-year-old label, who has since returned to growth. The Kering division that includes Balenciaga and Alexandra McQueen also saw double-digit expansion in the quarter. However, analysts warned the European luxury sector was still grappling with headwinds, including a strong euro, which impacts profits made abroad when they are converted back into the currency. There are also fears of brewing US-China trade tensions could risk dampening the resurgent Chinese demand. And to the next story, US will bring you the US market summary now. And of course, in that summary, Dow Jones 500 plunged. The Dow Jones plunged 500 points, seemingly good results from Dow Components, Caterpillar, Coca-Cola, and United Technologies (UTX). It didn't please the Wall Street. The Dow was down 500 points in midday trading after opening with a 130 points gain. At its worst point of the day, the Dow was down more than 600 points. The Dow has now fallen for the past 5 straight days and has given up its gains for the year. But why the nearly 650-point swing in the Dow in a matter of hours? Once investors took a closer look at the results, they focused on the negatives. Cut, for example, warned that profit margins will probably not get any higher this year than they are now. The fastest growing new energy source on the planet powers Omar Al-Hadian's investment. He comes from a country known for being the largest oil exporter in the world, but when it came time to start his own company, it looked to a nascent local market, which is the solar energy. And Coke investors were disappointed that lower prices may have helped drive sales, even though Diet Coke finally returned to the growth. Shares of Caterpillar plunged 6, while Coke stock was down more than 2. Verizon was one of the few companies that posted strong results on Tuesday that didn't seem to have any caveats, and it was rewarded for it. Shares of Verizon rose too, but other earnings reports were downright gloomy. Another Dow component lowered its outlook for the year. That sent its stock plunging. Nearly 10 insurance company Travelers TRV also in the Dow, and it fell 4% after its earnings missed forecast. All this negativity dragged down other old-school classic industrial Dow companies too. The Boeing and Dow put both fell more than 3. And tech investors were disappointed by increased expenses at Google parent Alphabet. We now move to the Asian stock market report. Well, Asia Pacific stocks were broadly lower on Wednesday, earlier today, following sizable declines on Wall Street as the yield on the 10-year U.S. Treasury note, benchmark in Hong Kong, and of course the Southern all were much by 1 during midday, while a number of other markets lodged declines of late, at least 0.5. The S&P 500 futures were recently down after the index slid 1.3 on Tuesday. Tech stock took a beating, while Samsung Electronics and Hong Kong listed smartphone component makers Sony Opticals all extended their recent weakness. Several chip makers had flagged near-term concerns about smartphones demand, adding to worries over a U.S. ban on companies exporting goods to Chinese telecom equipment firm ZTE. The current worry isn't too much on U.S.-China trade disputes, but a tech war following the ZTE ban that will have knock-off effect on the whole tech supply chain, said Alvan Chun at Prudential Brokerage, adding that other major Chinese internet and tech companies could become the next target of U.S. officials. Earnings news also weighed on stock on Wednesday, with soft first quarter results sending Chinese pork company WH Group, which owns American firm Smithfield Foods, skidding 9 to 5 months lows. In Japan, Takeda Pharmaceutical slid 6.5, hitting levels last seen in November 2016 after London-based Shearship also had a decline. We'll take a short break and we will be right back to bring you more stories. Please stay with us.
Remains the bedrock in every stage of development. It develops both the human mind and the society at large. Television Nigerian is here to avail you with that information you need for all development through its mind-blowing programs such as news, talk shows, health and safety, governance and politics, sports, entertainment, kids, documentaries, finance, global happenings, human disposition from childhood to adulthood. It's a manifestation of what you see, what you hear and say. Tune in and stay tuned to